All right. Well, hopefully you can all see me, and you can also see the presentation. And we're going to keep this pretty brief and just touch on the important things. What's great about this is if you look up to the upper right-hand side, if you're on your computer or on your iPhone or tablet, you can go up to the upper right-hand side and you see those three little lines in the box, and that's a little chat box. If you have any questions as we go, you can put those in there and I'll address them and answer them as we go through the presentation. This is fun because it's interactive, and I'll kind of go through a couple of the key points, and you can ask questions and find out a bit more about what we're doing to see if it's something that's right for you. So again, you should be able to see me and you should be able to see the presentation. At the end of the presentation, if you hang with us for the whole 25 minutes or so, then we're going to take care of your lunch. So stay on. If you make it all the way to the end, which it should be pretty easy, then we'll send you the Chick-fil-A gift card for taking the time. So thanks again for being here. So my name's Jameson. I'm one of the co-founders of Neighborhood Ventures and managing partner. And we started Neighborhood Ventures about 3 years ago. We're based here in Phoenix. And we're a little bit of a unique company because we use crowdfunding to raise capital for Arizona real estate projects, specifically apartment buildings, apartment projects. So this is an opportunity for folks to become partners with us in our projects with as little as $1,000. And this is possible because of crowdfunding. So you've probably heard of crowdfunding before. It's a word that is used to describe raising money online. And so you're able to get a large audience of folks to raise money online. And our mission when we founded Neighborhood Ventures is to empower people of all income to create wealth through commercial real estate. We know that commercial real estate for a long time has been the way that a lot of people have created and grown their wealth. And now with crowdfunding, we are able to bring that asset to a larger base of people. Before crowdfunding, it was really the wealthy people that benefited because you had to have a lot of money to buy a building on your own. And if you partnered, normally the minimum investment was at least $50,000, if not more. With us, we're able to go to a much broader group of investors, and you can invest with as little as $1,000. Just to kind of talk a little bit of the history about crowdfunding. This is pretty new. So 2009 is really when it started, just over 10 years ago, with a company called Kickstarter. And this is a company that a platform where you can invest in gadgets and inventions, so gadgets and inventions and different campaigns that get on Kickstarter, and that's really what started crowdfunding. And then in 2012, Congress passed laws that made crowdfunding legal for companies to raise real equity and debt online via new crowdfunding laws. And Neighborhood Ventures was the first company in Arizona to launch and successfully raise our first real estate crowdfunding campaign in 2018. That was our Wilson property in Tempe. And since then, we've done a couple other properties, and right now we're on our fourth project, Via Hermosa. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. So as a person who's trying to save money, trying to invest money, trying to grow your wealth, create wealth, there's a lot of things you can invest in. And the first thing that I want to talk about is why real estate? Why should you consider investing at least some of your retirement, some of your savings in real estate versus other assets? And I think the first point that's important is real estate's local. So you know, if you even think of your neighborhood, you know what areas in your neighborhood are kind of doing well. You've seen values move up in your neighborhood if you own a home. You know the areas around Phoenix where you may not want to invest. You know the areas where you do want to invest. You know the neighborhoods that are deteriorating, the neighborhoods that are growing. And Warren Buffett has a saying that if you invest in what you understand, the risk is a lot less. And so real estate inherently is something you can understand. You can see it, you can touch it. And our projects are all in Arizona, so you can drive by them, you can see them, you can point them out and say, hey, I'm an owner of part owner in that project. And it's really a different experience than in just investing in some stock or fund, on the East Coast. The second thing that is great about real estate is that our projects are generating cash flow. They're not just some pie in the sky idea that might someday make money, like a startup company, or your cousin has some idea for a new company. These projects are generating cash flow every month from rent. The third thing is fixed assets have a fixed value because the cost to replace that asset is what it is compared to from a value standpoint. So if you see a building and if you were to, a fire would have come and take the building down, or you were to tear down the building, you'd have to replace it. And so there's a fixed value there that's kind of just gives you a floor. And fixed assets actually go up in value as the government spends more money. And we know the government is spending a lot of money right now with everything they're doing around COVID-19. And that's why fixed assets do well in these types of environments, because as there's more money put into the economy, fixed assets actually increase in value. And the fourth thing is it's a lot less volatile than having your money in the stock market. By the way, you can use a retirement account, 401k, IRA to invest with us. And so we can talk a bit more about that later. But when you invest in the market and you log in and see how your money is doing, it's a roller coaster. And I spent many years working in the stock market. I hated that. I hated the volatility, the up and down. Real estate isn't like that. Real estate is much more stable, and we'll talk about some of those reasons. So we pay our partners, our investors, a 12% annual return on our projects. And I kind of want to compare this to some of the other assets you can invest in. S&P 500 is a sample of what the returns you could get out of the stock market. Historically, you get about an 8% return out of the stock market each year. It's up and down, but historically, over the last 50 years, it's about 8%. You can invest in bonds, government bonds, corporate bonds, and they're about 3 or 4%. Or you can put your money in a savings account, and anybody who has money in a savings account knows there's not a lot of money there. In fact, they pay very little to you to put your money in a savings account. Why this matters is that over a course of even a few years, and certainly 15 or 20 years, if your money is returning a higher percent, you're able to reinvest that money, and it's called compounding. And so as you reinvest that money in a neighborhood ventures fund, if you just look at this 20 years down the road, you'd have about $350,000 by investing $5,000 a year. And you can compare that to savings. You can compare it to these other things. It's much less because your money isn't working for you the same way. And if you take this out 30 years, if you invest for 30 years, $5,000 a year, and you grow that at 12% a year, you are over $1 million. So that's why it's so important that your money works for you. You work real hard for your money, make your money work hard for you. So that's why we like real estate. Now, why should you invest in multifamily or apartment assets? Which is what we are doing and what we invest in. Right now, more people are renting at any time since the 1960s. And there's a lot of reasons for this. A big reason is that after the financial crisis in 2009, 2010, millennials who were younger at that time have a different mindset about owning homes. They don't really care about owning homes. They will buy homes eventually, but they are renting for a lot longer. They would rather have flexibility. They'd rather live closer to work. They'd rather, they don't need a 3 or 4 bedroom home because they're also getting married later. So they're really driving the renter demand. And the other part of it, on the other side of it, is the baby boomers who are retiring right now. They're about halfway through their retirement cycle. They are also wanting to live in more urban areas where they could sell their home in the suburbs, cash out their equity, and they're renting. And they're going to go live in a nice apartment, be close to a restaurant, but they don't want a big house. And so they're renting more than prior generations also. So right now there's more renters than any time since the 1960s. And we don't think this is a short-term trend. We think that this will continue for the next 10 to 15 years. You'll continue to see renter demand really strong. And that's why we invest and we purchase only multifamily apartment assets right now. And we only buy assets in Arizona. So this is the area that we specialize in. Our team has been here a long time. That's really important when it comes to successfully completing a project, as you know the area, you know the market. And Arizona is a great economy. Anyone who's been here for a while knows that people continue to move to Arizona, about 100,000 people a year, including last year. And those people have to live somewhere. And a disproportionate amount of those folks who move here are renting, not buying. With the population growth, we've also seen job growth. So companies continue to choose to come to Arizona. We have a friendly government, a business-friendly government that's here. We have a stable place to live. We don't have hurricanes. We don't have floods. And it's a place where companies are choosing to come. So job growth has been up. With job growth, we've also continued to see wage growth. And that's important because as wages go up, people can afford to spend more money. So Arizona is a place where these things are just coming together. They've been here for a long time and they continue to do very well. It's a desirable place to live. We think this will accelerate with everything that's happened with COVID-19. We've heard of a lot of folks who live in California, the Midwest, saying, if the schools don't open in Chicago, I'm out of here. In the fall, I gotta have my kids in school, and moving to Arizona. That's kind of anecdotal, but we know that we have a friendly government here. And, the temperature helps us when it specifically comes to COVID with what happens over the summer with the virus. And that's more short term, but longer term, Arizona is really well positioned to continue to see this migration to Arizona. Arizona Republic, which is the newspaper here that is really does some good research when it comes to real estate. They're saying that Phoenix needs 150,000 more apartment units by 2030 just to support the demand of people moving here. So it's a supply-demand issue. There is not enough supply to meet the current demand of people moving here. So when the Arizona Republic says we need 150,000 more apartment units, that means new builds of 150,000 more units. The current apartments will continue to do well because the supply doesn't meet the demand. So Neighborhood Ventures, our strategy, we have a specific strategy when it comes to buying projects. And the first one is we buy properties in core urban areas that are up and coming. So when you say up and coming, if you think of an up and coming area, it's an area where you see properties being renovated, where there's maybe older homes or homes that haven't been renovated, but you're starting to see some investment come in. We don't want to go into a neighborhood, like Scottsdale or somewhere where it's already there. Northern Scottsdale, where everything's already there. We like the neighborhoods where it's transitioning, because as you buy, as that transition starting and you own for a few years, you see a nice increase in value. So we're buying in those core urban areas, in up and coming neighborhoods. And we purchase small and medium sized apartment buildings. So we're not buying, the huge apartment complex that's 500 or 1,000 units. We're buying anywhere from 10 units to 100 units. That's kind of our sweet spot. There's a lot of reasons for that, but one of the big ones is that we're able to go in and renovate those units, and we don't compete with the big institutional companies that buy the big apartment buildings, because under 100 units is kind of a sweet spot for us when it comes to apartments. And then the last thing we do is we do a renovation or a value add. So we are looking for buildings that are in a neighborhood where the rents around that property are higher than this property. And so what that means is if we can fix the property, the rents will go up to match the neighborhood. And we've successfully been able to do that on all of our projects. But that's what we're looking for. We're not trying to force a rent increase. We're going to a market and we're finding a property where the rent's already here and our property's here. And then after we renovate it, we can bring it up to the market rent, because people will pay more to live in a newly renovated building. So this is our project life cycle. And each of these steps kind of describes an important part of the process. First, we're buying the building, that's the acquisition. Then we renovate it. After the renovation's complete, we release the building, and that's called stabilizing it. We're getting it to generate cash flow again. Once the property is stabilized, it starts generating regular monthly cash flow, and that's when we start paying all our investors. So we pay our investors every month once we've hit that cash flow stage. After the costs are covered, the cash that comes in comes back to you each month. And then we liquidate the property or sell it. And that's when you get your principal back and you get the rest of your returns to meet your 12% a year. So this takes 2 to 3 years, depending on the project. And as you look at our different projects, you'll see we have a time frame on each of them. So I want to talk a little bit about my business partner, John. He was actually just walking by here a second ago. But he's a key part of our success. He's been in the Arizona market for over 25 years, and he owns a company called ABI Multifamily. They are the top broker of apartments in Arizona for the last 5 years. They sell more apartments than anybody in the state. And from his experience, that's where we find our projects. So he has former clients reaching out to him, and we typically buy our properties before they ever go on the market. My background is more in finance, and spent some time on Wall Street, as I mentioned. And John and I founded the company about 3 years ago. Our first project was in Tempe. And so this was a 12-unit building, a great building in a great area, Mill Avenue and University. If you're familiar with the Tempe area, you can see there's those glass towers. You can see in that rendering, you can see right in the background is the glass tower. So it's right in that core urban area. But the property needed to be renovated. And so it was perfect for us. This was generating $750 a month in rent per unit. And after the renovation, now it's generating $1,100 a month in rent. So in a short period of time after renovation, now the rent that it's generating is much higher, which is a good thing when you're an owner. And people are happy to pay it because they're living in a brand new unit. Our next project is on 66th Street near Old Town Scottsdale. This is 8 units. This is actually ran as a short-term rental or like an Airbnb. We funded this successfully in 3 weeks, which was really quick. We had 87 investors. Each of the projects we pay the same, 12% preferred return, and this project is doing really well. Obviously, the COVID-19 has impacted it a little bit, but we're still seeing really strong bookings. And the property came out really beautifully. We also renovated this project, and that's the renovation was done in January. Venture on Marlette is a project in Uptown Phoenix. We have 130 investors involved in this one, and this one is almost completed, the renovation. We're holding an open house next month for this property, and the open house would be a great time for you to come out and see our work and meet us all in person. It'll be outside, and we're taking a lot of precautions, but it's a great, turned out to be a beautiful property. And also seeing really strong rent in this neighborhood from the time that we bought it to now that it's totally renovated. So our current project is Via Hermosa. And this is a property that was built in 1966, Uptown Phoenix, great little neighborhood. And in the neighborhood, you'll see it's a very residential neighborhood, and then there's a little pocket with apartments, including this property. So the property feels more like a neighborhood than it does kind of a commercial, apartment area. And as you drive down this street, this private street in the middle of the property, on both sides, you'll see 7 units, and they're little bungalows on each side, and they're 2-bedroom, 1 bath each. It's a really unique property with mature landscaping, but the owner hasn't done much with it when it comes to updates. So it was a perfect property for us, and we're going to renovate it and make it into a really contemporary, updated property, but keep some of that kind of bungalow charm that it has. On the insides, we're updating the electrical. We're putting in new appliances, new fixtures, new cabinets, flooring. It'll be a whole new look on the inside. And then on the outside, new paint. We're updating the courtyard to make that more usable. We're going to add some string lights across the street down the middle of the private driveway to add kind of some ambiance, update the landscaping, and it's going to come out beautifully. So Via Hermosa is in Uptown Phoenix, as I mentioned. It's near the restaurant corridor on 7th Street in Bethany Home, or 7th Street in Camelback. So it's like Bethany Home and off the 51. This has become a really highly desirable area of Phoenix. A lot of people moving here, renovations. If you drive in the neighborhood, you can see all of the activity that's been happening in this neighborhood. And so we really think it's the right time to buy this building. We've already purchased it, so we own the building now. We purchased it about a month ago. So for an investor, this is a 2-year hold period. The minimum investment, as I mentioned, is only $1,000. You can invest more than that, but that's the minimum. And we pay a 12% return every year. So you'll earn a 12% return on that $1,000. The way that looks is our average investment is actually $5,000. So in the first year, you won't get any returns in that first year because we pay returns as the property's generating cash. In the first year, we're renovating the property, so it's not generating any cash. But in year 2, we will start receiving cash from rent. And as cash comes in, we start paying that back to you as investors every month. And then by the end of year 2, we will have the property liquidated and sold, and you'll get your principal amount and whatever else is due to you to reach that 12% annual return. So that's kind of what it looks like if you were to invest $5,000. It's about a 24% total return, or 12% a year. So a few things. Via Hermosa is our current project. I'd really encourage you to take a look at it. One thing, and I'm going to switch to my browser now. If you go to our website, neighborhood.ventures, this is what you'll see. You'll click on the Properties tab, and when you click on Properties tab, you'll see our prior projects. These 3 are now closed, so there's investing in those has been sold out. Via Hermosa, just today we've got some more investments. And so we have passed our target raise. Our target raise was $750,000, but we can raise more than that. So we're continuing to raise money for the next several weeks, but we already have 127 investors and we've raised $755,000. But as you click on this, it's going to ask you to create an account. If you have an account already, you can log in. If you don't, you can simply create an account. And then when you do that, you're able to see some more details about the property. You can see the big full-size renderings. We also made some good videos here where we're out walking the property. We're talking about our plans, and you can see all the financial details and videos about the project here in the portal. When you're ready to invest, you just click this blue invest button. And when you do that, it's going to start walking you through how much you want to invest. It's a really simple process, takes about 5 minutes. So that would be the next step. The other thing is you can drive by the property and take a look at it. We have the address here. Once you log in, you'll have access to the address. I'm not going to give it publicly because we don't want everybody going and inundating the people that live there now. But if you log in, you can have access to the address and drive by it. I did mention before that you can use an IRA or 401k. There's a few steps to it, but if you have a retirement account, you can use that to invest with us. If you're interested in that, let us know. By the way, if you have any questions, you can write them in the chat box, upper right-hand corner. If you have questions about the project, about Neighborhood Ventures, about using your IRA, you successfully made it all the way to the end. So everyone who's on here now, we're going to send you a Chick-fil-A gift card for lunch, $10. There are a few phone numbers here, so let me make sure we have those names. So if you called in, we see you if you logged in on your computer. But if you called in, if you could email us at info@neighborhood.ventures, info@neighborhood.ventures, and then we'll send you your $10 gift card because we don't see your name here. The rest of you, we will be emailing you that gift card. And I haven't seen any questions that have come in, so feel free to reach out to us if you have additional questions. Email, phone, create a login, take a look at the project, and we hope that it's something that is appealing to you. You know, we have 127 investors already, but we have room for a few more. So we'd love to have you join us. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you.